Thank you for joining us. My name is Lucy Sacco, and this is Master Artist Class, a program designed to introduce master artists from the late 19th and early 20th centuries by offering a brief lecture on the artists' lives and their painting styles, a segment with images of each master artist works, and lastly, we will paint our own rendition of one of the featured artist paintings. In today's episode, we will be introducing Edgar Degas, a French painter, sculptor, and printmaker who became prominent in the Impressionist movement and who is widely celebrated for his images of Parisian life. Born on July 19, 1834 in Paris, France, he was originally named Hilliard Germain Edgar Degas, a name he at 11 shortened to simply Edgar Degas. He was the eldest of 5 children in a moderately wealthy family. His father was a banker who wanted him to become a lawyer, but Degas showed no interest in the field. By 18, he had turned a room in his parents' home into a studio and became a copyist at the Louvre. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in literature. As a young artist, he met Jean Ingres, who advised him to draw lines, young man, many lines. In July of 1856, Degas traveled to Italy, where he would remain for the next 3 years while drawing and painting copies of works by Michelangelo, Raphael, Titian, and other Renaissance artists. Upon returning to Paris, he continued his art education by copying works at the Louvre. He enlisted in the Franco-Prussian War and discovered that his eyesight was defective, which plagued him for the rest of his adult life. Degas was primarily a figure and portrait painter. As an accomplished artist, he grew bored with the salons in Paris and joined the Impressionist exhibitions. He actually detested being called an Impressionist. He was a good friend of Manet's, whom he met while copying at the Louvre, and believed he had little in common with Monet and other Impressionists, looking down on their landscape painting. He considered himself more of a realist that was known particularly for his depictions of movement and a wide variety of perspectives. He collected works of Manet, Pissarro, Cézanne, Gauguin, Van Gogh, Delacroix, and Demire. In his later years, he became a photographer-sculptor. He photographed many of his friends by candlelight, including Renoir. As the years passed, he became isolated because of his belief that a painter could have no social life. He never married and spent his last years of life nearly blind, wandering the streets of Paris until his death on September 27, 1917. Please view the upcoming segment filled with many of the motion-filled and colorful paintings and drawings of the master artist Edgar Degas. Enjoy. today we're going to be studying one of the many horse paintings painted by Edgar Degas. If you'd like a list of supplies or a rendering or a book of renderings, you can go to my website, masterartistclass.com, and there will be those things there for you. We have about 15 colors today. It's a little bit complex, so I'm going to get going. It's a little intimidating. I don't normally do many portraits or paintings of animals or living creatures because it's very intimidating. It seems to be an intimidating thing for people. They say, oh, that's an eye, that's round, and they don't really want to look at the shapes. Today we're going to be painting lots of horses, and it could be intimidating for you, but I'm sure you can get through it when I show you how to do it. So let's get to work. I'm going to start with the color of the sky, which is a very light pastel pink. I'm just going to go over the whole sky with that color with my 3/4 inch flathead brush. I'm going to go all the way to the tree line. So you can't really tell how someone's life is going to go as an artist. I'm finding that many of the artists, they have very sort of troubled lives in some way, and I'm not really sure why that is. And maybe it is because the art helps them to find a form of expression that they probably wouldn't know if they didn't have some sort of a disability or troubled life. In Degas' circumstances, he was raised in a pretty normal environment, and he was his dad wanted him to be a lawyer in the worst way. I'm using my tapered brush now. I'm going to use it quite a lot in this painting. I switched to a burnt sienna, and I'm going to do the tree line here. It looks like at this particular track, it's a little bit like maybe autumn. I didn't realize that they did horse racing in autumn, but the trees look a little bit red to me. So I'm using the burnt sienna. I'm being careful to paint around the figures. Don't paint the person's head because you will never find it again. The burnt sienna will cover it well, and you won't be able to find it and paint it the right size or in the right way. So there's some little houses back here also, and I painted around those. I'm painting around those. I don't want to paint over all the white areas. So if there's a white area, I'll tend to paint around that because this burnt sienna really covers things up pretty well. If it's white, I'm not going to paint it with the burnt sienna. Be careful not to paint the people's heads. I'll say it again, because believe me, you will not find the right size of the person's head. People just go crazy when it comes to people or animals. They have their own idea about the way things look, and that's why I have these renderings. The renderings help you to see the shapes. In painting, really and truly, what you do is use light and shapes. And you look at the shape, and you say, oh, it's shaped like this. Maybe it's a little slanted in this direction, or maybe it's a little, you have to really look at the colors. Oh. Have to be kind of careful too, because there are green areas that you want to cover in the far background back here. So, so that is the tree line, all done. The next color I'm going to use is a bright green, which is behind these particular horse riders, jockeys. This painting is called Jockeys at the Start. And I'm going to be very careful with my, you can use a smaller brush if you want to. It will be probably easier if you use a smaller brush. I like my tapered brush because it's very precise. Be sure to take your time and go in between these jockeys because, like I said, once you lose the head, that's it. You won't be able to find it again, the head. I'm saying it all these times because when I would teach this particular painting at the independent and assisted living homes and communities, inevitably, that's exactly what people would do. They would just paint right over the body or the head. And good luck trying to get the right size. You can't do it. So just take your time. Yeah, maybe even use a smaller brush. Like that's what I would do. I'll show you what I would do. If I were you, I would use my little brush. I have a very tiny brush that will help me to get more precise around these particular jockeys. And just gently go ahead. And that's that. That's all there is of that color. There are 15 colors, but as in other paintings, they're only in a few places. So it seems a little bit more intimidating than it really is. Okay. So now the next color is going to be a light chartreuse green, like a spring green. So I'm going to start down here at the lower right-hand corner. And you could paint right over the horse's legs and everything with this color. And you probably should because you don't want any white showing around your horse legs. No white at all. I'm going all the way up to the tree line. If you get some of this paint on the jockeys, it's okay because you can see right through it. Oh, there's a guy back there. You might There's a jockey back there. You might not want to paint him. Yeah, I painted him, but I know where he is. I can see him on the copy. It's going to be difficult to try to figure out the shape, though. You know, people did amazingly well when I introduced this painting. So as I was saying before, the artist, like Degas, he couldn't see very well, and he considered himself a realist painter. And he was kind of snobby. He didn't really get along with the other Impressionist artists, or the artists at that time. He really despised being called an Impressionist. But I mean, he used their exhibition. He did help them with some of the exhibition, but he used that to break out of the conventional sort of classical style painting, even though that's what he was really comfortable with. After studying in Italy, he was much more comfortable with that style of painting. It was classical style painting. And the Impressionists really didn't think that that was an honest form of painting because they felt that it wasn't accurate, or you had to have a certain, the placing of the subjects in the painting were contrived. So the peasants were toward the bottom, and then the hierarchy were farther up, higher up in the painting, that sort of thing. And the Impressionists didn't really agree with that. They wanted to be accepted painting the way that they painted. Art as a form of just expression. So we got that green, that yellowy color down there. I'm going to put a little bit of, a little bit lighter, with a little bit of lighter colored yellow with a little raw sienna. It's like a golden color. That is going to go over the top of this. I'm going to start back here, work my way up. There are several different colors in this grass. That's why we're going to be putting layers of this grass down in different colors. So it does look sort of like a early autumn kind of painting because it's got the golds and whatnot. You know, it's really, he does have some impressionistic aspects to this painting. Although he would not admit it. So I did a talk on the Clark Art Institute, and I had read that Sterling Clark said he would rather have 10 Renoirs than 100 Degas. But I was just up there recently. I was up at the Clark, and I was in the Degas exhibition, which they have the little ballet dancer. It's a bronze sculpture. And there's a couple of his paintings in there also. I'm just taking a little raw sienna and dappling that in here just to make some markings. So I was at the exhibition up at the Clark. It's a permanent exhibition. And it says there that Sterling Clark had said that he only had one regret, and that was he wished he had gotten more Degas paintings. So, I don't know. Maybe it was after he found out how beloved his paintings actually were that he said he would rather have all the Renoirs. He really loved Renoir. You know, he would have collected Degas for the sake of having something a little of value, something of more value. These paintings are very valuable. I'm just kind of randomly putting these scratchy marks down here. Looks like it's a little muddy here and there. Maybe the horse's hooves cut into the grass or something like that. But I'm just kind of dappling it in here. I'm not trying not to go dot, dot, dot. I'm going random directions and things like that. You don't want it to go all in the same direction or anything because it will look not so much like the real thing, but like a painting. So I'm taking a little, I guess, these dots in the background here, those are other horses. And they go all the way along the tree line. All these little brown specks, they're horses and other jockeys. Yeah. So I'm going to rinse my brush and let that dry. I'm going to let those markings dry a little bit. Then I'll go back in with another color green. I'm going to start painting the jockey uniforms. I'm just going to go along and choose the color of the jockey uniform that I see. First, there's a yellow one. I'm going to do him. That's right here. Don't overpaint. Take your time. Hold your brush lightly and gently. Do not press down. Just very delicately go along and try not to overpaint the size of the helmet because the head's going to look really big and it's not supposed to. So be careful when you're painting the jockeys. All of the jockeys' uniforms, they pretty much all have the same kind of like a creamy color jockey pants. So I take raw sienna and a little unbleached titanium, and I'm going to paint those. Why don't I just paint all the jockey pants? I'm going to just go ahead and paint all of them. Might as well. They're all the same color. Probably like a canvas, something like that. I had books printed up with these renderings and copies in them, and they're going to be on my website, and you'll be able to get them. And that way, you'll be able to paint just the way you want. I mean, it's very difficult to paint these paintings without the rendering. up at the Clark. One time I took my kids to a children's exhibit of Edgar Degas. They had all of his little bronze sculptures and all this sort of thing. Well, he did many nude sculptures too. And one of the exhibits was a nude dancer in a glass case. And they gave the kids these like little questionnaire. You're supposed to ask the question to help them to interact with the art exhibit. And at one of the exhibits, there was a little nude dancer, and I had my children with me, and the question was, what would this dancer say if she came to life right now? And my daughter, I won't say which one, but she says, she said she would say, "Where are my clothes?" I thought that was funny. Anyway, children don't get exposed to that sort of thing so much anymore. So I'm just going to paint all the jockey uniforms. We're going to save the horses pretty much for last. Okay? I'm just looking and seeing what's there. All these horses. You're going to be able to paint horses. Won't that be good? You probably will think, I will never be able to do that. But you will. You will. So hopefully everybody's having a good summer. I wonder how many of you go over to Saratoga. I have not been to Saratoga this year. Not that I usually go, but sometimes it's amazing to go. It's fun. Fun to see the horses. I'm just trying to really focus here because you can't be too careful with the heads and the details here. Because this guy, he considered himself a realist. And, I'm going to just step back a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. So lots of colors in only a few places. Okay. Coming close to finishing, believe it or not, although we still have to do the horses. I'm doing the flesh tones last because it's just too easy to lose your uniform. And you only have a dot of flesh tones on these. Okay. If you paint the wrong color on it, that's okay, like I just did. That's okay. You can paint the right color eventually. I painted over one of the guys, one of the jockeys. Uh-oh. I think I'm going to need glasses. Pretty soon. Very soon. So Degas was sort of a complex character. He was not poor growing up, but because of his decisions. And this is what I mean by these artists' lives that are so complex and difficult and challenging. They had such strong beliefs that they made life difficult for themselves. I'm doing the flesh now. Got to be really careful with that. Less is more. Absolutely. Really and truly, this is a kind of a fun painting because all of the colors. We are really almost done already, but we have the horses, right? Now I'm taking my tapered brush. No, not yet. First we're going to do one more layer of grass. So let's do that. One more layer of grass. I'm kind of painting over some of the stuff that's already, some of the colors that are already there. I can still see the horse rendering underneath. I'm doing the horses pretty much last because not only do they intimidate you, they kind of intimidate me too. But you'll see how easy it is when I get going here. Yeah, good. I'm being very sort of careful. I notice he doesn't have a lot of browns or anything near the horse's legs. I have barely any paint on my brush, but there are some pretty like brown areas in this grass. And this is very impressionistic, this grass, what he did here. Hate to say it. When I rinse the brush, I really pound it down on the bottom of the bowl. I want all that color out. I want a very clean color. Okay, so we're going to do the horses now. Get ready. Get ready. Okay, so I've got burnt sienna and my tapered brush, and I'm making sure that the bottom of the tip of the tapered brush is very narrow. Okay, I'm going to do the legs of the horse first. I'm using the tapered brush is facing up, and I'm just using the tip, and you could just lay it down. That will help you to keep a straight. Now the horse's legs aren't straight, but they kind of disappear into the grass, the hooves, and then you can kind of flare it out a little bit. They're not really that narrow either. Okay, so there is one horse leg. Now there's a horse leg and a tail over here. I'm very carefully going to just follow the rendering. Okay? There's a shadow on this horse, on his flank. The tail has a little bit of like an orangey or auburn hue to it. Keep your paint sort of wet so that it spreads easily. You know, keep your brush nice and clean. Go back in. This horse has the burnt sienna undertones, and has like a darker deep brown over the top of that. You can do it. You can do it. I'm taking my time. This is probably going to take the most time of everything that we've done, just so we do a good job. It doesn't matter if your horse legs are perfectly shaped. I mean, it might matter to you, in which case, then you just take your time. Just take your time. You can use a smaller brush and just paint along the rendering. So this is another chestnut color horse. With a black tail. You could see how this tapered brush really does help you become more accurate with your application. The brown, the dark color, it's not exactly black, although some people might want to paint it black. I'm really kind of going over all of these horses with the burnt sienna because it's just a softer color, and if you make a mistake, well then you'll be able to correct it. Then we'll put the black or the dark color down. The black on my palette is not really black. It's blue and deep, deep brown, violet almost. Can you imagine the anticipation before this race? It's got to be really intense. If you get paint on some of the color that you don't want to get paint on, you can just take a cloth, a wet cloth, and wipe it off. It comes off very easily if you catch it right away. So it's okay. Take your time. If you make a mistake, just wipe it off. Well, that was quick, right? Now we'll do some of the darker colors. The horses are all sketched in, and so now this will be, really fast. Because the grass is such an impressionistic style, if it's not perfect, that's okay. That's really all right. So believe it or not, my black is not black. It is a different color. It's a lot of different colors all mixed together. That's not what I wanted to do. So that's not what I wanted to do, so I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm going to just get a little wet paper towel. I'm going to wipe it off. Okay? See, I didn't want to do that, so now I fixed it. Acrylics are pretty forgiving. So I'm going to put on this horse over here, I'm going to put a little orange or like some highlights over here that are more auburn than burnt sienna. This one has the black tail. Has some black on their lower legs. A lot of movement here. Seems like there's a lot going on in this particular painting. I missed a horse. I missed one right here. Huh. Hmm. Okay, I'm going to get my little brush now. Back out again. Put some unbleached titanium. There are so many little spots that need attention, but we are honestly and truly almost done. Almost done. Yeah, pretty good. I don't usually mix the paint with my brushes, but sometimes you have to. I forgot this guy's uniform. Just take your time. You'll get it all figured out. One black hat. Only one hat that's black. Okay, there are some houses in the hills and the tree line, and now we're going to put those in. It's very subtle, sort of subtle. You don't need a lot of paint on your brush, just go along. Take most of the paint off your brush actually. Be sort of dry with it. I'm just being random here. I'm not trying to be perfect. Not that I ever could be. It's just fairly lightly putting this color into the hills. It kind of balances things out. Trying to make sure I don't miss any of the horses or jockeys. Oh, I missed a horse head. Right in the middle. You saw that, didn't you? All right. Pretty good. Two horse heads. I don't want to miss any parts. Ta-da! Guess what? Let me just double check. We can go back in and crisp some things up. Crisp up some of these legs. But you don't have to. You really don't. How's that? I think that looks great. I feel pretty good about it. So actually the grass has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different colors in it. I think we're done. I feel pretty good about it. I had a great time. I hope you did. If you want to order a rendering or you want to get a list of supplies, you can go to my website, masterartistclass.com, Oh, there's a little bit, one little thing that I have left to do in the sky here. There's a little bit of yellow along the horizon here. Just a little. Yeah, the sky needs a little more clouds in here and stuff. Hmm. Keep your brush clean. And that's it. I had a great time. I hope you did. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day, and so long.